9 ways some women cheat without getting caught. What if the biggest sign she's cheating is not distance, not secret texts, not coming home late, not even another man's name popping up on her phone? What if the real warning sign is that everything suddenly feels too perfect? More affection, more compliments, more "I love you," more reassurance. And while you're thinking, finally we're getting closer again, she may already be emotionally or physically somewhere else. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand the quiet patterns some women use to hide betrayal. And the final one is the one most men never see coming until it's too late. There's a certain kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from the cheating itself. It comes from realizing you were living inside a performance. You thought the relationship was stable. She seemed loyal. She still smiled at you. She still called you babe. She still posted couple pictures. She still talked about the future. But something underneath felt strange. Not loud enough to accuse, not clear enough to confront. Just strange. A tiny shift in her energy. A story that almost made sense. A phone that suddenly became private. A new friend who somehow became more present than he should have been. And because you didn't want to look insecure, controlling, or paranoid, you ignored it. That is where many men lose. Not because they are stupid, not because they are weak, but because they judge loyalty by how a woman talks, instead of watching how her patterns change. Now, before we go deeper, let's be clear. This video is not saying every woman cheats. It is not saying every female friend, coworker, or social media interaction is suspicious. That mindset will destroy a healthy relationship. But when someone is hiding something, their behavior usually leaves a trail. Not always obvious, not always dramatic, but visible. The problem is that most men are looking for proof, while deception usually starts with patterns. So in this video, we're breaking down 7 ways some women hide cheating in plain sight. Not so you can become paranoid, but so you can stop being blind. And pay close attention to number 7, because that one works so well because it doesn't look like cheating at all. 1. The sudden affection shift. Here's where it often begins. Not with coldness, not with distance, but with unexpected sweetness. Imagine this. For weeks, she has been slightly unavailable. Short replies, less excitement, less intimacy. She says she's tired. She says work is stressful. She says you're overthinking. Then suddenly, the energy changes. She starts texting more. She becomes softer. She compliments you again. She sends cute messages during the day. She wants to cuddle. She might even bring up memories from when the relationship was good. And to a man who has been starving for reassurance, this feels like relief. You think, maybe I was wrong, maybe we're okay. But sometimes that affection is not connection. Sometimes it is compensation. There is a difference between affection that comes from love and affection that comes from guilt. Real affection feels consistent. Guilt affection feels sudden. Real affection feels natural. Guilt affection feels like a performance. Real affection builds intimacy. Guilt affection distracts you from asking questions. This is one of the oldest emotional tricks in the book. When someone knows they have created distance, they may try to cover that distance with extra warmth. Not because the relationship has healed, but because they need you calm. They need you emotionally relaxed. They need your suspicion to go back to sleep. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some men are easy to mislead because they confuse softness with sincerity. A woman can hug you and still be hiding something. She can kiss you and still be lying. She can say, "I love you," and still be protecting another version of herself that you don't know about. That does not mean every affectionate woman is guilty. Do not be foolish. But ask yourself this. Did her affection return naturally after a real conversation? Or did it appear suddenly after unexplained distance? Did she become loving because the relationship improved? Or did she become loving right when you started noticing inconsistencies? Timing matters, because when affection arrives exactly when suspicion begins, it may not be romance, it may be damage control. And once you understand that, you stop being hypnotized by sweetness and start paying attention to patterns. 2. The harmless guy. Now let's talk about the man who is nothing. The guy from work, the old classmate, the gym friend, the church brother, the mentor, the business partner. The man who is supposedly so harmless that even questioning him makes you look insecure. This is where things get subtle. When a woman knows another man may become a problem, one way to reduce suspicion is to introduce him early. Not as a threat, as background noise. She mentions him casually. "Oh, Daniel said something funny at work today." Then again, "Daniel helped me with that project." Then again, "Daniel is so dramatic, he reminds me of my cousin." At first, it sounds innocent, and honestly, sometimes it is. But in some cases, what she is doing is making his name familiar enough that you stop reacting to it. The more normal he sounds, the less dangerous he feels. That is how the shield is built. A stranger would alarm you. A friend does not. A random man texting late at night would raise questions. But Daniel from work? The one she already told you about? The one who has a girlfriend? The one who is like a brother? That sounds safe. And that is exactly why it can be dangerous. Not because every male friend is a threat, but because emotional affairs often begin with access. They begin with conversations. They begin with private jokes. They begin with venting. They begin with, "He just understands me." And once another man becomes her emotional safe place, you are no longer the only man with influence over her heart. Watch how she behaves when you ask about him. A healthy woman with nothing to hide can usually answer calmly. But a woman protecting a connection may become strangely defensive. She may say, "You're so insecure. You always think the worst. I can't have friends. You're acting controlling." Notice the move. You asked a simple question. Now you are on trial. That is important, because when someone is innocent, they often explain. When someone is hiding something, they often attack the question. Also pay attention to comparison. If she starts saying things like, "He actually listens. He understands things you don't. He's just easier to talk to." That is not just information. That is emotional transfer. She is telling you another man has started occupying space that used to belong to you. And here's the painful part. Many women who cheat do not start by looking for sex. They start by looking for emotional escape. Someone to validate them. Someone to make them feel seen. Someone who does not carry the weight of bills, arguments, history, disappointment, or responsibility. That new man feels light because he has not had to carry anything yet. So she mistakes novelty for connection. She mistakes attention for love. She mistakes emotional convenience for destiny. And if you are not paying attention, you will be arguing with her while another man is comforting her. That is a dangerous triangle. 3. The routine cover-up. This one is clever because it hides inside normal life. Most men expect cheating to look dramatic. Sudden late nights, secret trips, a new wardrobe, a different perfume, a changed password. But smart deception does not always change the routine. It uses the routine. She still goes to work, still goes to the gym, still has girls' night, still visits her cousin, still says she's tired on Sundays. Nothing looks new, nothing looks extreme. But the details inside the routine start shifting. Work ends at 5, but now she gets home at 7. The gym used to take 1 hour, now it takes 2. Girls' night used to come with pictures and stories. Now it comes with vague explanations. Her friend's house becomes the perfect place where the phone somehow dies, the network somehow fails, and time somehow disappears. This is where many men get trapped, because they think, well, she's always done this. Yes, but has she always done it this way? That is the question. Cheating often hides in the difference between the routine and the details. Same event, different energy. Same location, different timing. Same excuse, less clarity. Here's an example. She says she was out with her friends. You ask, how was it? She says, it was fine. You ask, where did you guys go? She pauses. Not a big pause, just enough. Then she gives a vague answer. Just somewhere around town. You ask who was there. She says, the usual people. No names, no details, no stories. Nothing you can hold. Now, one vague answer does not prove cheating, but repeated vagueness is information. When someone is telling the truth, details usually flow naturally. When someone is managing a lie, details become risky, so they give you fog. Not because fog proves guilt, but because fog prevents clarity. And here is the pattern interrupt you need to remember. A liar does not always create a new life. Sometimes they create small hidden rooms inside the life you already know. That is why you can not only ask, did her schedule change? You must ask, does her story still make sense? Does her timing still align? Does her energy match her explanation? Does she become irritated when you ask reasonable questions? Does the same routine now come with more secrecy? Because when normal habits start producing abnormal confusion, something is off. And pretending you do not see it will not protect you. It will only delay the truth. 4. The phone boundary that appears overnight. Let's be honest, the phone is where many modern relationships either survive or die. Not because couples need to inspect each other like police officers, that is unhealthy. But because sudden secrecy around a device often says something. Maybe she used to leave her phone on the couch, now it is always face down. Maybe she used to reply to messages beside you, now she angles the screen away. Maybe she used to laugh and show you funny things. Now she smiles at her phone and says, nothing, when you ask what's funny. Maybe notifications used to pop up normally, now everything is silenced. Maybe her phone suddenly follows her everywhere. Bathroom, kitchen, bed, shower, everywhere. Again, privacy is not cheating. Adults deserve privacy. But secrecy is different from privacy. Privacy says, I have boundaries. Secrecy says, I need to hide this from you. And the difference is behavior. If a woman values privacy, she is still emotionally open. She does not panic when her phone lights up. She does not accuse you every time you notice something. She does not create a dramatic scene over a simple question. But when secrecy is involved, the phone becomes a guarded object, like evidence, like a second life, like a door you are not allowed to stand near. And here is where it gets even more complicated. A woman who knows what she is doing may not leave obvious evidence. She may not have a man saved under his real name. She may not keep messages in normal apps. She may not even flirt in a way that looks suspicious if you glanced at it. Instead, she may use disappearing messages, archived chats, muted conversations, close friends' stories, secondary accounts, work apps, group chats, or coded language that sounds harmless from the outside. That is why obsessively checking a phone is not the answer. First, it can make you look unstable. Second, if someone is experienced at hiding, you may not find what you were looking for anyway. The better question is not, can I find proof? The better question is, why has her behavior around the phone changed? Why does a normal question create panic? Why does the device now feel like a wall between you? Why does she protect access to it more than she protects peace in the relationship? That is the issue, not the phone itself. The emotional shift around the phone. Because when someone is innocent, the phone is just a phone. When someone is hiding something, the phone becomes a vault. 5. The reverse accusation. This one can break a man's mind. You notice something, you ask a question, and somehow, by the end of the conversation, you are the one apologizing. That is the reverse accusation. It usually sounds like this. Why are you so insecure? You clearly don't trust me. You're probably the one doing something. You're acting weird lately. Maybe you're cheating and projecting. Now the spotlight moves. It is no longer about her unexplained behavior. It is about your reaction to her unexplained behavior. And if you are not emotionally strong, you will fall into the trap. You will start defending yourself. You will explain that you are not insecure. You will apologize for asking. You will comfort her because she says you hurt her feelings. Meanwhile, the original question never gets answered. That is the genius of the move. It does not prove innocence. It changes the subject. Here is a simple rule. When a person responds to a reasonable question with emotional chaos, slow down. Do not get dragged into the storm. Stay with the facts. For example, if you ask, "Why did you say you were at your friend's house when your friend said she didn't see you?" That is a direct question. A direct question deserves a direct answer. But if she responds with, "Wow, so you're checking up on me now? You don't trust me at all. You're just like every other man." Then she has shifted the conversation. Now the issue is your trust, your tone, your insecurity, your character. But the missing explanation is still missing. This is how some people hide. They do not hide by giving better answers. They hide by making the question expensive. They train you to associate curiosity with conflict. So eventually, you stop asking. Not because you trust them, because you are tired. That is the danger. A man can be emotionally exhausted into silence. And once you stop asking questions, the person hiding something gets freedom. Understand this. A healthy partner may not like being questioned, but they will care about helping you understand. A deceptive partner wants you confused, guilty, and quiet. So if every concern you raise turns into an attack on your character, do not ignore that. That may not be love defending itself. That may be guilt protecting itself. 6. The public loyalty performance. Some people cheat by hiding. Others cheat by performing loyalty so loudly that no one suspects them. This is the woman who constantly talks about how loyal she is. She posts quotes about faithfulness. She criticizes women who cheat. She says things like, "I could never do that. Cheaters disgust me. Once I'm with someone, I'm locked in." And because she says it so strongly, you believe her. Why wouldn't you? People usually announce the values they want others to associate with them. But here is the part most men miss. A person can love the image of being loyal more than they love the discipline of loyalty. Those are not the same thing. Loyalty is private. Image is public. Loyalty is what someone does when nobody is clapping. Image is what someone says when people are watching. And in some cases, the loudest loyalty talk becomes camouflage. Because if she has already convinced you that she is not that type of woman, then your brain will reject evidence that says otherwise. You will think, "No, not her. She hates cheaters. She always talks about honesty. Everyone knows she's a good girl." And that is how the persona becomes protection, not proof. Protection. A reputation can become armor, especially when she knows how to use it emotionally. If you ever question her, she may say, "After everything I've told you about loyalty, you think I'd do that? And now you feel ashamed. You feel cruel. You feel like you insulted her identity. So you back down." But here is the truth. Trust should be built on consistent behavior, not branding. A woman can have a clean reputation and still make dirty choices. A woman can look innocent and still be deceptive. A woman can be respected by everyone outside the relationship and still betray the person inside it. This is why you must separate image from pattern. Do her actions align with her words? Does her private behavior match her public values? Does she use her reputation to avoid accountability? Does she become offended by the question instead of addressing the concern? Because when someone's identity becomes a shield against honest conversation, that is a problem. And remember this line: the most dangerous mask is the one everyone compliments. 7. The emotional replacement. This is the one most men notice too late. Before cheating becomes physical, it often becomes emotional. Not always, but often. And emotional replacement is quiet. There is no obvious betrayal at first. No hotel receipt. No late-night confession. No dramatic discovery. Just a slow transfer of intimacy. She stops telling you things first. She stops laughing with you the same way. She stops coming to you for comfort. She stops sharing the small details of her day. She becomes physically present but emotionally unavailable. Then one day you realize something painful. She is not empty. She is just not pouring into you anymore. Someone else is receiving the version of her you used to know. That is emotional replacement, and it can be more painful than physical cheating because it means another man has taken your position in her inner world. He knows what upset her today. He knows what she dreams about. He knows what she is afraid of. He knows the complaints she does not bring to you anymore. He gets the softness. You get the attitude. He gets the patience. You get the irritation. He gets the emotional access. You get the relationship title. That is a brutal place to be. And many men miss it because they focus only on physical proof. They say, did she sleep with him? But the better question is, has she already bonded with him? Because once a woman emotionally detaches from you and attaches to another man, the relationship is already in danger, even if nothing physical has happened yet. This is why phrases like, he just listens to me, can be more serious than they sound. Because listening creates intimacy. Consistency creates trust. Vulnerability creates attachment. And if she is repeatedly giving another man emotional access while shutting you out, you are not being paranoid for noticing. You are observing a shift. Now, this does not mean she cannot have friends. It does not mean she cannot talk to anyone. But there is a line. And the line is crossed when another man becomes her emotional partner while you remain her official partner. That is when the relationship becomes a shell. It looks alive from the outside, but inside something has already been moved. And here is the hardest truth. When someone has emotionally replaced you, they may start rewriting the relationship in their head. Suddenly, you were never supportive. You never listened. You never understood her. You were always the problem. This mental rewrite helps her justify what she is doing, because if she can convince herself the relationship was already broken, then betrayal feels less like betrayal. It feels like escape. That is why emotional replacement is so dangerous. By the time the truth comes out, she may not even feel guilty anymore. In her mind, she left long before you knew. 8. The confusing hot and cold cycle. Now let's talk about the behavior that keeps men stuck the longest. The hot and cold cycle. One week, she is loving. The next week, she is distant. One night, she wants closeness. The next day, she needs space. Sometimes she talks like she wants the future. Other times, she acts like your presence annoys her. This creates emotional confusion. And confusion is addictive. You start chasing the good version of her. You remember how sweet she can be. You remember the moments when she made you feel chosen. So when she pulls away, you do not leave. You try harder. You become more patient, more available, more forgiving. You start performing for the relationship. And that is how the hot and cold cycle keeps you trapped. When someone is loyal and emotionally stable, love does not feel like a slot machine. You should not have to keep pulling the lever hoping the affectionate version shows up again. But when a woman is hiding another attachment, her energy may become inconsistent because she is emotionally split. Part of her is still with you. Part of her is exploring elsewhere. Part of her wants the safety of the relationship. Part of her wants the excitement of the secret. So you get mixed signals. And mixed signals usually mean one thing: mixed motives. This is where you must stop listening only to words. Because words can be edited. Energy is harder to fake over time. If she says she loves you but constantly makes you feel unwanted, pay attention. If she says nothing is wrong but her effort keeps disappearing, pay attention. If she becomes warm only when she senses you pulling away, pay attention. Because sometimes affection is not love. Sometimes affection is a leash. Just enough sweetness to keep you from leaving. Not enough honesty to rebuild trust. That is not a relationship. That is emotional management. And if you stay too long inside that confusion, you will lose your confidence. You will start doubting your instincts. You will start calling obvious problems overthinking. You will start accepting emotional crumbs because the full meal used to exist. Do not let nostalgia make you ignore reality. Who she was does not matter as much as who she is consistently choosing to be now. 9. The exit strategy before the breakup. Here is something many men do not understand. Some women do not cheat because they want to leave immediately. They cheat while preparing to leave. That means the betrayal is not always random. Sometimes it is part of an exit strategy. She starts emotionally detaching. She becomes more independent. She stops asking your opinion. She stops including you in future plans. She becomes less interested in fixing problems. Arguments become shorter because she no longer cares enough to fight. Then she starts building a new emotional option in the background. Not necessarily because she is evil, but because she fears being alone. She wants to land somewhere before she jumps. This is why some men are shocked when a woman moves on too fast. They say, "How did she replace me in 2 weeks?" She didn't. You found out 2 weeks ago. The replacement process may have started months before. That is why the breakup feels sudden to you but smooth to her. She already grieved the relationship while still inside it. She already tested life without you emotionally. She already had someone validating her. She already imagined the next chapter. You were still trying to fix the relationship. She was quietly preparing to exit it. That is a painful realization, but it is necessary. Because men often measure betrayal from the day they discovered it. But the real betrayal often began when the emotional loyalty shifted. So what should you watch for? Watch for a woman who stops trying but does not leave. Watch for a woman who becomes strangely calm during serious problems. Watch for a woman who no longer fears losing you. Watch for a woman who keeps the relationship title but withdraws the relationship energy. That can mean many things: stress, burnout, resentment, depression, or betrayal. So do not jump to conclusions, but do not ignore the pattern either, because when someone is still present but already planning life without you, you can feel it. Your body knows before your mind accepts it. So let's bring it all together. Some women hide cheating through sudden affection. Some normalize another man until he no longer looks like a threat. Some use routine as cover. Some turn your questions back on you. Some protect their phone like it contains another life. Some perform loyalty publicly while betraying privately. Some emotionally replace you before anything physical ever happens. And some begin their exit while still enjoying the benefits of being with you. But the signs are rarely isolated. One sign alone does not mean betrayal. A pattern does. That is what you must remember. Do not panic over one strange moment, but do not ignore a repeated pattern that keeps disturbing your peace. Love should not make you feel like a detective. Trust should not require you to deny reality. And loyalty should not only exist in words, captions, and public performances. It should show up in behavior, consistently, privately, especially when nobody is watching. If this video opened your eyes, hit the like button so more men can see it before they learn the hard way. Comment below. Which of these signs do men ignore the most? And if you want more straight, honest breakdowns about relationships, loyalty, attraction, and human behavior, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because sometimes the truth does not arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers. And the men who hear it early save themselves years of pain.